The first person he used the water washed from her body to make tea for the villagers was his lover, Chika. She was a beautiful young woman, full of life and promise, who believed she had found love. But what happened to her became a story. There was shouting everywhere. People ran out of their huts with lanterns, their faces full of fear and confusion. Two strangers, a woman and her brother, lay still on the ground. No one knew who shouted first. No one knew why it happened. The quiet night had suddenly turned into chaos. Dogs barked, children cried, and the village guard stood shaking, realizing what they had done. They were camping by the stream, one guard said. We thought they were thieves, but they were not thieves. They were just travelers, a Hausa family from another tribe and village. They were just passing through the village looking for a place to rest. Only one of them survived. His name was Malam Sani. He stood silently as the villagers buried his sister and brother under the mango tree. His eyes were heavy with sorrow. Then he whispered, "May you all rest well," and he walked away. No one in the village understood Malam Sani's silence. They only saw a grieving man walking away. Neither did they know that something was coming for the people of Umuogba. Months had passed, and the night of chaos slowly faded from their memory. One morning, a van appeared at the village junction, painted in bright yellow and white. From it came a sweet, milky smell that floated through the air. "Buy your sweet tea! Buy your miracle sitting tea! Soft fresh bread from the oven," Malam Sani said calmly and cheerfully. The villagers came out one by one, curious. The man behind the van smiled warmly. No one remembered his face. No one could tell who he was, but he seemed peaceful, friendly and kind. He poured cups of steaming tea for everyone. His hands were steady and gentle. The tea was rich, creamy and full of chocolate. Some children began to call it chocolato tea, while others called it miracle soothing tea. Soon, everyone could not go a day without having a taste of the tea and freshly baked bread. Farmers drank it before going to their farms. Children begged their parents for it before school. Old women said it gave them strength and made their weak bones strong. Others said they slept well when they drank the tea. You could never go wrong with Malam Sani's tea. It was sweet, smooth, and always satisfying. His bread was always hot and fresh. As the days passed, the business grew. Every morning, the same van drove around the village, playing soft Hausa music as it stopped at each corner. People would rush out with their cups and plates, laughing and talking while they waited for their turn. Malam Sani became a man of importance in Umuogba. He was generous, always smiling, always ready to refill your cup. With time, he built a large tea spot at the village junction at the very heart of the community. That junction connected everything: the school, the farms, and the main roads leading to the city. Every traveler stopped there. Every villager passed by it. And at that spot stood Malam Sani, serving tea with a smile that was so calm. Life went on smoothly at Umuogba. People drank tea, laughed and talked about their farms, children and weddings. The village seemed peaceful. But one morning, a cry broke the calm village of Umuogba. Mama Chika ran into the village square, her wrapper barely tied, her eyes swollen from tears. My daughter is missing," she shouted. "Chika is missing. It's been 3 days. She hasn't come home." The news spread like wildfire. Everyone in Umuogba had loved Chika so much. She was beautiful, gentle and respectful. She worked at the tailoring shop near the junction, and she was always seen smiling, greeting everyone with kindness. Her mother said Chika had told her she was going to see her lover, a young man who had promised to visit the family with his people to discuss marriage. But that visit never happened, and Chika never returned. The whole village came together to search for her. Men carried lanterns and cutlasses, women prayed, and the youths combed the nearby bushes and river banks. For days, they couldn't find her. This was something that had never happened before. Even Malam Sani joined the search. He closed the tea spot for a full day. He carried a lantern, helped look through the forest alongside other villagers. Some of the villagers appreciated his concern, and some were surprised that he closed the tea spot to help them do the search, especially because he was not from their village. But Mama Chika just kept feeling agitated, and something in her heart felt uneasy. After some days and weeks of continuous searching without seeing Chika, the people of Umuoba began to accept that she was gone. Her mother still cried now and then, but the villagers tried to comfort her. They said maybe Chika had traveled with her lover and one day she would return. Life slowly returned to normal, and they all returned to taking their favorite tea each morning. In that same village lived a young woman named Amara. Amara began to act strangely. She was tall, beautiful, and always cheerful. She used to follow her mother to the market every day, but lately she no longer did. Whenever her mother asked, "Amara, why don't you go with me anymore?" she would smile shyly and say, "Mama, I am visiting someone. It's a secret, and I promise to tell you about him when the time comes." Her mother would laugh and shake her head. "Secret care. You better bring that person home." Oh. Amara would just smile and reply, "He will come and see you very soon." At that same time, Madam Sani's business was growing faster than ever. He had employed 3 workers, young boys who helped him sweep, serve, and carry the teapots. Every morning, before the first cock crowed, his van arrived at the junction. Steam rose from the kettles as the sweet smell of milk and chocolate filled the air. By the time the sun came up, the place was full of customers. But there was something strange about Malam Sani's routine. He was never around in the afternoon. Every day, after serving the morning crowd, he would tell his workers, "I'll be back soon. Don't worry, just keep selling." Then he would leave quietly. Nobody knew where he went, but he always returned before evening, looking calm, smiling, and counting his money carefully. Malam Sani's footsteps always led him to the same place, a small mud house at the edge of the forest. And that was where Amara was always waiting for him. She sat by the window whenever she heard his footsteps, her heart beating fast. Malam Sani always came with a bag of bread and a flask of tea. He would hand them to her with a gentle smile and say, "Drink, my dear. This tea is special. It will make you strong." Amara trusted him. She believed his calm voice, his gentle ways, and the sweet taste of tea he brought. No one else knew about their secret meetings. Not her mother, not her friends, not anyone. Amara had promised Malam Sani that no one would ever know about their love. It all began one quiet morning. The sun had barely risen when Amara went out to deliver some vegetables to her mother. Along the narrow, dusty road, she met Malam Sani. He was driving his van, as usual, carrying loaves of bread and hot tea. He stopped when he saw her. "Good morning, beautiful one," he said with his calm Hausa voice. Amara smiled shyly. "Good morning, Malam." That morning changed everything. At first, it was just greetings. Then short talks grew longer with each passing day. Amara liked his gentleness, his deep voice, and the way his eyes sparkled when he smiled. He was unlike the young men in the village, calm, neat, and focused. Before long, Amara was the one who was making small advances. She would pass his tea spot often, pretending to be heading somewhere. Sometimes she even bought tea she didn't need, just to see his face. In Umuoba, it was tradition for ladies to marry men from their own people. When Amara realized she was falling in love with a stranger, she decided to keep it a secret for the meantime. She didn't want to be mocked or gossiped about. Whenever he was coming to meet her, he would bring her goodies. This went on for 2 weeks. One afternoon, Amara arrived earlier than usual, feeling comfortable and at peace. She decided to take a short walk around his small hut. As she walked behind it, she noticed a narrow path that led to another hut not too far away. She was so curious and she followed the path. The second hut looked just like Malam Sani's small hut, with a thatched roof. She wondered if this was where he stores his cooking items. But as she got closer, she began to perceive a strong, unpleasant smell. Something inside her told her to go back, but her curiosity pushed her forward. She quietly opened the door. What she saw made her blood run cold. Inside the hut was a dead body, almost decayed. Around it were large pots filled with dirty water, and she saw the same kettles Malam Sani used to sell tea at the market. Amara held her mouth, trying not to scream. The body was that of a young woman, and even though her face was barely recognizable, Amara thought of Chika, the girl who had gone missing weeks ago. Her hands trembled as tears filled her eyes. She stepped back slowly, trying to sneak out. But just then, she heard Malam Sani's voice calling her name. He was back. Amara started to panic. She hid behind the bushes near the hut. Malam Sani walked around, calling out again. When he didn't find her, he went inside the second hut, the one where he kept the body. He stood there for a few seconds, looking around suspiciously. As he stood there, he was thinking Amara had not showed up that day. He locked the door and left, heading back to the junction where his workers were serving tea. The moment he appeared into the distance, Amara ran. She ran so fast she didn't stop until she reached the village square, crying and screaming for help. When she told the chief what she had seen, everyone was in shock. Amara wept bitterly. She had truly loved Malam Sani. Finding out he was a killer shattered her completely. The chief immediately sent his guards to surround the tea spot at the junction. Malam Sani was arrested on the spot and taken to the palace for questioning. He looked at everyone with no fear, no remorse. Then, in a calm voice, he confessed. He said the people of Umoba had once murdered his family, innocent people who had done nothing wrong. And now he had come to make them all suffer the same pain. Through his tea, he had been slowly poisoning them with diseases that could not be traced. He admitted he killed Chika and Amara was to be his next victim. The other body had stayed for long. He said coldly, I needed a new one. I was going to kill Amara and use her corpse water to make more tea until you all perish. Everyone screamed in horror. The chief stood up in horror and ordered that Malam Sani be executed immediately at the village junction. His huts were burned to the ground, and Chika's remains were given a proper burial. Mama Chika cried so much, wishing she had sat down with her daughter to know who her man was. She kept blaming herself, while Mama Amara, on the other part, kept thanking God that her daughter was still alive. The sadness lingered in the village for a long time. The people of Umoba never forgot the stranger from the north, the man whose smile hid the darkest revenge. Sometimes, pain doesn't leave. It hides and grows into something darker when forgiveness is buried. But when revenge wears a smile, even kindness becomes poison. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you really encourage us to tell more interesting stories like this. Stay safe, besties, and remain blessed.